Hi, Shanna Forrestall here with Not Just Small Talk. Today I am in Kansas City, Missouri, and my guest today is Trent Wunstall. He's the VP of Data Analytics and Strategy for Mo-Kan, which is Missouri, Kansas Goodwill. And we're going to be talking about the state of inclusion in hiring, specifically for people who are dealing with disabilities or some other things. And I think you're going to find this exciting. If you know me, you know this is something that's important to me. So I'm excited to talk to him. He's breaking ground in what's happening in inclusion hiring right now in the United States. He's got some thoughts on what's going to happen in the future. And, we keep talking about it. Maybe we'll find some solutions. Shanna Forrestall with Not Just Small Talk. I'll be right back with my guest, Trent Wunstall. Hi, Shanna Forrestall here with Not Just Small Talk. My guest today is Trent Wunstall, who's the VP of Data Analytics and Strategy for Goodwill in Missouri. But there's something else you don't know. He's also someone else that's kind of important to me. Trent's my brother. I'm excited to talk to him today because we come from different sides of this topic. I'm someone who kind of does this on a daily basis. I'm currently mentoring, I think I'm up to 5 young men on the spectrum right now and hiring them. And inclusion in hiring is very important to me. And so when I got here to visit with Trent, we started talking about it because what he does is at a much higher level. He is developing programs to make inclusion in hiring happen by training people, by bringing them into the workforce, and by hopefully pushing them to the next level so that they can go on to higher levels of success. So Trent, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad to see you. This is my little brother, and I love him. So we're going to talk about the topic in general. So tell me, inclusion in hiring, what does that mean? I mean, it's kind of simple, right? It just means hiring someone, specifically when we're talking about it, hiring someone with a disability.
Yeah, there's many ways I think we can be inclusive and why. Goodwill Industries, where I work right now currently, we're celebrating 125 years. And since our opening day, we've made that a forefront of our core values to do. And there's good reasons why. And I'll run through 5 good reasons.
So he works for Goodwill, which if you know me and you follow my stuff, you know I am a secondhand shopper. I love Goodwill. No matter what city I'm in, I'm looking for a Goodwill because they have quality products, because I know it's recycling and reusing, which I'm very appreciative of. And also because I absolutely love the way they put inclusion in hiring as a focus. Every store I go into, I meet someone with a challenge who is awesome. And I have such an appreciation for a company that makes that such a focus. So let's talk about why? It's the whys.
Yeah.
Why they make inclusion a priority.
We do. I think for one, just we have to recognize as a society, there's the unemployment rate for people with disabilities. It hovers around 70%.
Wow.
And that's something as a society we shouldn't accept. And we should take ownership for. I think corporations should take social responsibility in that, not just nonprofit.
That's a wide range. So I work a lot with autistic people, young people on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But that also could include veterans. It could include what? What other types of physical disabilities? Mental disabilities?
That's right. And I call them diverse abilities because we all have different abilities. And a lot of times we see that people are just capable as anyone else. Mm-hmm. They just may look or sound a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And they bring joy, happiness, and they bring in a better morale to the workforce. I see that on a daily basis.
That's awesome.
People with disabilities are reliable employees. They have an overall higher job retention rate. Many studies have shown people with disabilities actually take less absent days, and I see this every day.
And I can
much
verify
more
that.
Reliable.
I can verify that with the young men that I've hired. They are hardworking. They're happy to be working. They are diligent. They show up. They get it done, and they're not lazy. They're not, they're focused and they're appreciative of the work. And so they do a good job.
Yeah. And for places with a huge turnover rate, which is very costly to replace an employee for retraining a new employee. And we have 180% employee turnover rate, which is ridiculous.
Because you're kind of a retail outlet or something.
Yes.
You're considered basically a retail outlet.
Yes. And that's whole organization. It's even higher on the retail side. And so if people with diverse abilities that we hire stay around over twice as long, almost 3 times as long. So that's another great reason.
Guys,
to keep
come on. We've got good reasons already. Let's keep going. That was 2 down. Let's talk about number 3.
All right. Employees with disabilities are less likely to get into work-related accidents.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that was proven even The Department of Labor Statistics did this study. I think it was originally back in the 40s, and then DuPont did another study the last few years. And they're like, holy cow, we never have someone that gets an accident, that gets a sexual harassment charge, if they have a diverse ability or come in with that type of background.
That's an interesting statistic. So if you're a company and you're crunching the numbers, these are some financial reasons, like just across the board, why it might be a good idea to look at someone with a diverse ability.
Yeah, and another reason is businesses that hire people with diverse abilities may receive tax credits and other incentives. And I know you looked into this as well.
Yes.
And we have even Ability One contracts where a whole contract department where we have to hire at least 75% of people with diverse abilities. And those contracts, we get grants back from the government to hire them and employ them.
And that's something I'm looking into in my area because some of the young men I've been able to hire on like little project by project basis, there is some capability in California for me to take some of them on as interns. They are paid interns and they're paid by a program that will allow me to mentor and train them so that I can prepare them for a high level of employment with me or with another company. And that's, something that's already in place. We just have to take advantage of it. So yes, there's maybe some financial help with this process.
There is. And also, lastly, workers with disabilities will increase diversity in the workplace.
Absolutely.
And both workers with and without diverse abilities benefit equally from a diverse workforce. Mm-hmm. And by working alongside employees with disabilities, individuals who are not disabled will become more aware about how to make the workplace and other settings more inclusive and accessible to everyone.
I have a blast working with the young men that I work with, and they bring such a fresh outlook sometimes to the things that we're working on. My children's book, Why the Girl Became a Cat, I worked with Matt DeGaia, and Matt brought such a beautiful viewpoint on animals and the relationship between human and animals. I mean, he just opened my mind to all kinds of things. And so, yes, we can all learn from people that have gifts in other areas that are different than us, right? And Goodwill's proven that.
They do, and I see it, and that's one reason I work there. And it's very satisfying to work alongside and champion others that maybe not like you or how you grew up in your family.
Right.
And there's such an unconscious bias that's so aware. And it doesn't have to be just someone with diverse abilities. It could be someone of color.
Member of the LGBT community.
Yes.
I know your company's big on giving equal opportunity.
If you just take resumes and cover up people's names, then other people that may have a name like a Jamarcus or an Indian name, that type of thing, they'll have 40 to 50% less of a chance to get the job, to call to the interview by just because their name doesn't sound like a John Smith.
Wow.
And this is something that...
Still.
Yeah.
Now.
To this day. And it's really an unconscious bias in many situations. What people don't understand is just when you see someone else's name, even though you could have the exact same potential, meeting the requirements, we just have this covering that we put over. And we think someone with, a disability, then, well, they can't do the job as good as someone else. But it's totally not true, especially if we create an environment where they can excel.
Right. And unconscious bias is very real. I've been doing a lot of study looking at my own. I've been challenging my own unconscious bias. We went to the Nelson Atkins Museum yesterday, and I was looking at some art by an Asian artist, and he had a piece that's 74 faces. It's all these different faces.
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. But I was looking at it, and I was testing my own bias because I realized, most of the faces in this piece didn't have really an expression. It was a straight face. And these were all Asian faces, so it wasn't like Caucasian versus Asian or anything like that. But even within the Asian faces I looked at, I noticed I was making decisions about what I thought about if they were a nice person or a strong person or a weak person based on simply like the bone structure of their face. Because at first I caught myself doing it and I was like, wow, he looks not like a very nice person. And then I was like, why would you think that? The guy's not making an expression. You don't know him. You've never talked to him, Shanna. Let's check this. So I started looking at different faces and thinking, what is my first impression? Boom. And then I started to ask myself, why? And a lot of times it came down to bone structure, where their eyes were placed, how high their forehead was. For some reason, I had these biases triggering in my own mind about who they were based on their face structure. And that's ridiculous. But we do that, and we don't even realize it when it comes to names, when it comes to skin color, when it comes to male versus female. We make these judgments. All of us do. And that's the thing, is like, it's even if you're trying not to be prejudiced or discriminatory or whatever, we have these unconscious biases that we need to address.
Every day. And
Every day.
It happens in executive leadership when females are trying to come up the ranks. It happens in any type of tech field or engineering field that comes up the rank. We usually will jump towards the male counterpart for the job, and it shouldn't be there. It really shouldn't.
But the only way we can deal with this, I think, is if we recognize it and then we address it in ourselves. And, you know, I think these days, I just finished another book on the shadow self, and how we're so, as a civilized society, we're so afraid to admit that we have maybe some racism or some prejudice or some latent subconscious biases, right? We're so scared to say that, and yet we all have them. And it's not until we say, you know what, I do, and I actively want to find out what they are and address them. I actively want to look at inclusion hiring. I actively want to change the way I view the world and really do my best to view everyone as equal and the same until they prove me some other reason to look at them, right?
Right.
But that takes work.
It does.
So let's brag on Goodwill for a minute, because you've been in that organization for a bit.
Yeah,
and there's a reason.
Quite a few different Goodwills, just consulting, from Goodwill International, the headquarters, to different locations around the country. And all of them have, I'd say, similar missions, but they all have, they're sort of autonomous in their region. They have their own board of directors, so their mission can vary from one to the next.
Right.
But at the core, since Reverend Helms, hundreds of years ago,
Wow.
what is it?
Reverend Helms.
140 years ago, I think now,
Really?
Boston, Massachusetts, he made a commitment that we would help those with barriers.
Wow.
And give them work. And I think that's one reason we can look back and say we've been successful all these years. The nonprofit now together in North America is $6.7 billion in annual revenue.
Wow.
And I believe we grew and we got to that point together because of that one fact that we embraced, that we said, you know what, we're going to make people with diverse abilities a part of our lives. We're going to invest in them, we're going to train them, and we're going to make them a part of our team, you know, at every level in the organization.
I love that. That's great. So one of the things you and I were talking about was the future of inclusion hiring, because I'm so grateful for the program AFA Hub in LA, where they're training young people on the spectrum. They're giving them skills in video editing, in animation, illustration, all of these things. And because they're giving them the skills, I am able to then hire them, mentor them, work with them, you know. And you guys are developing programs that are going to help people with, you know, diverse abilities. You're going to help them to get better trained so that they can get hired. Let's talk about the future of that. Let's talk about the future of diverse ability. One of the things you were saying is that some of the positions that may have been created for them are positions that require repetitive tasks, for example, and certain people with certain skills are very good at those tasks. But with technology coming in, it's going to change what the market looks like.
Yeah.
So how is technology going to influence the future of diverse ability?
Gardner just reported by 2030 that 1/3 of the workforce is going to be replaced by artificial intelligence, robotics, and machine learning. So if there's any routine task that's currently done, once a robot learns how to do it, then all robots can do it. So you're going to see a lot more, you know, UPS trucks without drivers. You're going to see just at a cash register, there's going to be no such thing as a person there attending this. And we're talking in the next 4 or 5 years, especially in backroom and manufacturing that were some of the lower skilled task jobs. They're literally virtually are drying up by the minute right now. And this
so
world's
that can seem a little
changing.
scary to people.
It is.
It's a little scary to me just hearing it. But then I think about it, but I'm like, but the potential. So I know that's something that Goodwill is working on, and hopefully companies across the country are working on, is like how these repetitive tasks are taken over. Let's not be afraid of it. Let's allow it. Let's encourage it. And then let's find other things that humans can be doing that are productive, that maybe contribute to our world, but then find ways for them to make a living doing that.
Yeah, so we got to find skills that we can train that's going to train a new workforce for the future state of work. And so we're not looking at it as the scariest thing in the world, because our number one mission is workforce development, I think, as an overall organization in the United States. So we're looking, how can we embrace that and change it? How can we give them a better job? You know, not just something, a minimum wage job, but a job that's going to last them in a lifetime so they can take care of their families and have a career. And those jobs are available. You know, everything that has to do with AI, it doesn't have to be some tech job that has this math skills that are required. It's not like that at all. Anybody can start programming a lot of these backroom robotics that are coming. So it's our goal to start training people how to use them.
I love that.
And we're looking not to replace humans. We're looking to find how can AI, robotics, and machine learning augment and work alongside our workforce. And so that's how we're currently embracing it. There is a gap. There is a divide that we have to start building the digital skills, just basic literacy classes and building up the skill sets of others. But that's the tracks that we're starting to work on to counter what's happening as the reality is right in front of us today.
Right.
So the future, I think, for us personally is building tracks and programs to equip people, to empower them to actually get better jobs than they currently have right now, even with us. So we're preparing them for the future state of work, which to me is very, very exciting.
And it's so progressive, more than like, oh, let's not get them to the bottom rung where they can do some repetitive thing and not ever have to think. No, we want to train them. I heard you say this yesterday or the day before, but let's get them to management level, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I love about what you guys are doing is like we're trying to take them 3 steps up and get them jobs where they can contribute, where they can grow, where they can manage, where they can lead, and not just do some little job that, oh, anybody can do that. No. Let's get them to the next level. They have special skills. Let's find out what they are. Let's get them the tech they need and get them there.
They're very creative people many times, and I'm glad you get to work with them in the production side and the creative side, because there's certain things especially that we're all interested in, and that's where I've seen it shine the most.
Yeah.
So just give them a playground to be successful and be creative, and it's okay to make a mistake, and you'll see their true talents come out and all, and that goes for all of us. It's not, we're more alike than you think.
Right, and that's my new mantra, is that we are more alike than we think. I love that. So if you're out there and you've been thinking about doing some inclusion hiring, I would say if you're an individual, you can do little projects like I just did. I had this children's book idea. I am not an illustrator. I cannot draw a cat. I hired this young man. We had a beautiful experience working together. We're going to be rolling that book out. We have a hard copy book and a digital book. If you're a small business like I am, you should look into an internship program. You can hire someone with amazing abilities and you can hire them, mentor them, and sometimes they're paid partially or fully by a program that's encouraging them to get work.
That's true.
And then if you're a larger company, find space in your company for people with diverse abilities, like create a training program or recruit specifically, or at least open your eyes to the possibility and learn from companies like Goodwill who are doing this and doing it well. So that's what we would say today. If you haven't done it, try it.
Yeah, partner with a Goodwill. So what we do, we hire a lot of people for the short term, not the long term. We want them to progress beyond Goodwill.
That's wonderful.
So we're looking at working in tracks with companies in our city here in Kansas City, like the Garmins of the world and Cerner.
Yeah.
And where we're preparing them for jobs that are of higher caliber than what we can even give.
That's wonderful.
So look at your local Goodwill or other nonprofits that have feeder programs and track programs, because they're investing them sometimes up to a year.
And if you know someone who has special needs or is handicapped or is on the spectrum, whatever, or a veteran, these programs by Goodwill are diverse across the country, but they're out there and they're either free or low cost oftentimes to the participant.
That's true.
So if you know someone who's looking for an opportunity, encourage them to seek out their local Goodwill and find a training program so they can be matched to a company and get some skills.
That's it.
Yay. Thank you so much for being on the show.
All right. Thank you.
This is my favorite little brother. My only little brother. But I love him. Thank you. I'm so proud of him. And you can see that we have some things in common. Our passion for helping people and things like that we have in common. Even though he's like the really smart guy in the family. He's the educated guy in the family.
There you go.
We're both intelligent. He's the educated one. I'm the creative bird. But anyway, thank you for being here. I love you. And I'm excited to see what you and your team and Goodwill and all of them will be rolling out for the future to help people.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks.